Hi everyone, this is Hareesha from H&B Premier Tax and Accounting LLC. I'm a CPA here in Long Island. Today is April 14th, 2020. I want to bring you updates on Paycheck Protection Program and the loan forgiveness guidelines. Paycheck Protection Program is a program that the government came up with, the stimulus package to support small businesses during this pandemic. Now, a lot of businesses, we help a lot of our clients get this loan because they're eligible, and also a lot of other businesses applied for this loan and then they got funding. Now, different guidelines, SBA issued, over past few weeks, whether if a business made the attestation that they require this funding to survive during this pandemic was in good faith or not. And then they told a lot of businesses, if you believe that you made that attestation and then you believe that you have other sources to survive during this time, they requested businesses return that money to SBA before May 7th originally, and then they extended that deadline to May 14th, which is today. So SBA said, okay, so if you come forward and return the money, whether you made that whether that attestation applies to you or not, they will accept as made in good faith. Now, yesterday, with their FAQs, frequently asked questions, they came up with new guidelines regarding the attestations that every business had to make to obtain the SBA funding for Paycheck Protection Program. Now, I'm going to cover that. So what that new guidelines basically says is, if you are a business that got funding less than $2 million, SBA assumes that you made that statement in good faith. Now, this is the new FAQ question that SBA updated yesterday. If you go to SBA website, you could download this FAQ. It's the question 46. How will SBA review borrowers' required good faith certification concerning the necessity of their loan request? The answer: when submitting a PPP application, all borrowers must certify in good faith that current economic uncertainty makes this loan request necessary to support ongoing operation of the applicant. SBA, in consultation with the Department of Treasury, has determined that the following safe harbor will apply to SBA review of PPP loans with respect to this issue. Any borrower that, together with its affiliates, received PPP loans with an original principal amount of less than $2 million will be deemed to have made that required certification concerning the necessity of the loan request in good faith. Now, this is very important, people, because now if you're a small business, you had savings, or if you had another line of credit, you had other funding to survive maybe, but this uncertainty created you to have more capital to get through this period. So what SBA says is, let's say your PPP loan is less than $2 million, even if your business had other resources to survive through this period, they're going to accept your certification that you made, that you require this funds to survive during this period, as made in good faith. So you don't have a proof of burden to prove to SBA that how you came up with how you decided that your business needed that money. Okay, so this they came up with this is the tension among a lot of business owners. And also they issued another guideline that if a borrower got the money and then they believe that they have other sources to support their businesses, they're required to return the money by May 14th. All right, so that's the good news. So let's go to the loan forgiveness. Now, loan forgiveness is the one that a lot of people are worrying about, because a lot of people already got the funding, so now they got like a certain time period to spend their money, and during that time period you had to spend the money according to the guidelines, and then either 100% of your loan or most of the loan will be forgiven. All right. So let's see what are the loan forgiveness requirements. Loan forgiveness, these are the basic requirements that you need to have for you to get the loan forgiveness. The borrower uses the loan proceeds to cover operating cost over 8-week period after the first disbursement of the loan is made. Disbursement, the banks have to make the disbursement within 10 days of the SBA loan approval. Now, what are the covered costs? Payroll cost, interest on mortgages or other debts incurred before February 15th, 2020. Now, remember, the loan principals cannot be covered, cost. So if you pay loan principal using PPP money, that will not be part of the forgiveness calculation. Now then, rent under a leasing agreement that was incurred before February 15th, 2020. So for you to have your rent deduction be eligible for loan forgiveness, it has to be supported by a lease agreement that was executed before February 15th. And then utility cost for services that began before February 15th. Now, if you started a new program or a new subscription to a new telephone line, or if you got a new internet connection after February 15th, that may not be eligible. You should have had these services before February 15th, 2020. So the idea behind that is now you got more money, you can't go and spend more money just because you have the money. So the 75% of the loan proceeds has to go to payroll costs. So that means you're only left with 25% for other expenses. Now, number 3 requirement is employee numbers and the compensation levels has to be maintained the same levels, or if they had gone down, you had to restore those numbers by June 30th, 2020. So when does the period starts that you have to spend the money? As soon as you got the first funding of the loan. So then you have 8 weeks period to use the funds. Now, what are the costs that are expressly excluded from forgiveness calculation, even though they are eligible cost, right? Now, if you have employees that you pay more than 100,000 in salaries, wages, so then anything above 100,000 is not considered. Or also, if you have a partnership that you pay partners more than 100,000 as partnership distributions, and also if you're self-employed, you file a Schedule C, you have more than 100,000 in your Schedule C income. So then anything above 100,000 doesn't qualify for the forgiveness calculation. So it's capped at 100,000. Any employees that live outside of US, that's their principal residence, so then they are not part of this forgiveness calculation. Then qualified sick or family leave wages under the Families First Act, then those sick leave also not part of the forgiveness calculation. Also, then they expressly mention in the act that you cannot prepay your expenses. Like, let's say, okay, so you have the funds, you say, okay, I want to pay my next 3 months rent right now, so it will be part of the forgiveness. No, you cannot do that. The same thing with any other expense. 75% use test. So how does that work? Let's say you got $100,000, that's your loan amount. So 75% of that, which is 75,000, has to go to the payroll. Also, your forgiveness amount will be reduced by the number of employees that you lay off, or the reduction of the employees. So what they do is they get a base period, last year similar period, and then this year period. So you compare the two periods. So if you have employees were reduced by like 25%, so your loan forgiveness will be reduced by the same amount. Now, for this calculation purposes, full-time equivalent employees are employees that work 30 hours minimum. So there's a formula to calculate your loan forgiveness. I don't want to go get technical in this video. So if you want to know about it, reach out to us. We could help you with that calculation. Also, if you reduce the employee salaries, that also will reduce the forgiveness calculation. For example, like let's say if someone were making $60,000 a year, and now you reduce their salary to 30,000. So you get 60,000 prorated for 8 weeks. That would have been your forgiveness amount. But now, since you are paying them 30,000 annualized, your forgiveness amount will be 30,000 prorated for 8 weeks. Also, now if you had to lay off people, or if you have to furlough people because you could not open your business between February 15th and April 26th, those reductions are not considered if you bring back your numbers by June 30th. Meaning, like, if you have your average payroll, the same amount, same numbers, and average number of full-time employees, the same number like you had in the comparative period in the previous year, this will not affect your loan forgiveness. Alright, so how do you apply for forgiveness? After the 8-week period, you have to reach out to your borrower and then follow their guidelines to apply for forgiveness. You have to have documentations verifying your payroll and full-time equivalent employees for the 8-week period that you spend the money, and then also comparative period in the previous year, which is February 15th through June 30th. And then also you have to show them cancel check, payment receipts, account transcripts, and other documents, verifying other eligible expenses. And then also one of authorized representatives have to sign on behalf of the company saying that forgiveness applications and then the expenses that you're disclosing on the forgiveness applications are true. And then the money were used for the eligible expenses, rent, utilities, payroll, and interest payment. Now, once you submit the forgiveness application, the lenders has 60 days to respond back and then let you know how much, of the loan will be forgiven or not. Now, remember, this is very important. Loan forgiveness is not automatic, so you have to remember to apply for loan forgiveness. Also, let me give you some pro tips. Ensure first of all you are eligible for the PPP loans. If you are not eligible but somehow you got the money, don't spend the money, return the money, because otherwise you will not get the forgiveness. It will remain as a loan. Now, number two, make sure that you use the funds for the eligible purposes. Now, we discussed about that, and then also make sure that you use the funds during the 8-week covered period. Also, keep track of your funds. Maintain a separate ledger. If possible, open up a separate bank account and then use the funds from that bank account. Keep keep good records. Now, also monitor the updated guidelines. SBA issues guidelines time to time. Reach out to your accountants, lawyers, your advisors, and then look for the new guidance, and then apply for forgiveness. And also AICPA and then a lot of other stakeholders are requesting the Treasury Department to allow businesses to use these funds for a lot longer than 8 weeks, because now, for example, where I live, New York City and Long Island, most businesses cannot open. So even though they got the money from the PPP loan, how are they going to pay employees if they cannot ask employees to come to work and then start working? For example, restaurants, if they had 10 employees, now they cannot do the table service. They have to do only delivery. So how are they going to spend the money? The business cannot just ask people or just pay employees for no reason. So first it has to make business sense. So because of that, there are a lot of pushback for the Treasury Department and authorities to extend this 8-week period. Keep an eye see if it changes. If it doesn't, we have to follow whatever the rules that they have established, now. So here's the FAQ 46. It talks about how will SBA review borrowers' required good faith certification concerning the necessity of their loan request.